I want to welcome everybody to our first session on artificial intelligence and transforming education with AI. This is a topic we are super excited but also very scared to share with you because there are so many pieces of it that maybe like even with Sean's knowledge and the tiny bit of knowledge that I have are barely touching the iceberg with it. So thank you for sharing those, Sean. If at any point you lose the slide deck, again, you can look in the activities, the circle, square, and triangle, or you can use the Bitly link. Okay, so here are our norms. This is an extremely interesting topic, and it is a little sensitive. Some of us have different ideas about whether this is a great new tool or whether this is just the end of education as we know it. So I do want to remind you to not only engage fully, but to be open to new ideas, opinions, and rationales. And then hopefully today we have a way to get this connected to your classroom and help you integrate AI. And then of course, be respectful as we're going to be placing you into breakout rooms today. Okay. All right, so we're going to start today just kind of getting to know each other. Go ahead and pause that. We're trying out a new slides timer. Okay, so in order to get started, we're just going to open with a quick little activity. It's called a thin slide. And so if you've ever been to a training where maybe Terry or myself or any of the other instructional coaches have added this as your protocol, it's just a fun, quick way to get some ideas from what your students are thinking or feeling about a specific topic. And so we want to know what comes to mind when you think about artificial intelligence. What we're going to ask that you do is either give us a word or a phrase, something very brief, one image, and put it on instead of a slide. Because we have so many people that are going to be joining us today, we're going to put it on a Padlet. And so there is a link on the presentation to that Padlet. Can we also add that link in the chat? And there's just an image that has to do with revolutionary. What I'm going to ask that you do is when you get to the Padlet, and I see some of you are joining the Padlet, click the plus sign, add a word, and and an image that helps describe that word. Okay, so welcome back. We hope you had a great discussion about, yes, I know I'm already in there. Excuse me. About our topic today. Don't worry if you got kicked out of the call. We were just doing a little bit of an icebreaker. We will be joining those same people, hopefully, again, and we'll have a much deeper conversation. Okay. All right, so our goals for this session, one is to hear, like, just kind of get a basic understanding of what AI is and what it can do for you. Two, we're going to give you some examples that you can look at where we have used AI in order to generate some responses that are relative to teachers. Three, we're going to give you a method where you can say, okay, these are the things that I need to hit to create a great prompt for AI, and then give you a chance to do that. We'll also share some examples that will kind of be like a little bit of a, I want to say template, or like just something to initiate your discussion with artificial intelligence. And then if we have time, we'll share some alternative platforms that embed AI in order to do the same things that we're talking about today. All right, thank you, Sean. We do want to let you know that we do have some upcoming professional developments. One is, and I know so many of you showed up here for this, I did see the one that said cheating. That is what AI equals to me. Ensuring academic integrity in the age of AI. That is a Q2 topic. This topic today is simply about how do you get used to using AI in your own classroom for yourself to make your life easier so that you can understand how students can use it. And then our Q3 topic is empowering student use. And then finally, we will repeat this session with all of the new things that AI is adding. In fact, Sean and I learned today that there's even more things coming when it comes to ChatGPT with images and even voice. So there's a lot going on with our professional development on these pieces. So watch out for those. You can sign up at the end of this session. All right, so we kind of want to get an idea of if you're using AI like ChatGPT, if you could, and Sean has created a poll, again, that is in the activities section under the triangle, square, and circle, and the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And I just want you to put in there, how often do you use it? If you've never used it, you're a 1. If you've used it less than 5 times in total, you're a 2. If you use it every week, you're a 3. And if you use it every single day, like Sean and I, who could not use it today, please put 4. So we've got 25 votes for 1, 2 for 2, we've got 15 votes. We've got a couple of 3s and 4s, but most of you are in the 1s and 2s. So never tried it or tried it less than 5 times. Great. Okay, so then we've got some information for you today. I think this session will be super helpful. Awesome. So in this slide, I just wanted to kind of like even everybody out on the same playing field and understand what generative AI is. Now, AI has been around for a really long time. We've started dabbling with AI in the 1950s, and now we're to the part where like every time a new piece of AI gets incorporated, we start to think of it as normal. For example, when you are typing in an email or in a Google Doc, you get predictive text. That's artificial intelligence. Those are things that you've seen for a while that we've already have. If you are, grabbing your phone and asking Siri questions, Siri is artificial intelligence. She is a personal assistant that uses natural language processing, which is also something that ChatGPT and other things like ChatGPT use. The nice thing about AI is that it recognizes patterns, it learns from the things that you have done before, and it can help you to make decisions. It makes those decisions for you. Generative AI is a specific piece of artificial intelligence, and that's what we're talking about today. The nice thing about generative AI is it can help produce things. So it can make content in the terms of text, images, audio, and even data. And so as it gets more and more sophisticated, you're going to see things that we can't even possibly imagine. So super exciting stuff. We're going to show this video. Sean, can you show this? It's a quick little 1-minute video about artificial intelligence and generative AI.
Whether you realize it or not, you're probably using AI in your daily life. Typically, AI focuses on analyzing data to be used for things like translations or predictions. But there's another type of AI that you might have learned of recently called generative AI. Generative AI uses algorithms to analyze existing data, such as text and images, to then make new content. Now you can use AI to create entirely new images with DALL-E in Bing Image Creator, or generate code suggestions with GitHub Copilot. But AI is getting put to work outside of work by helping you draft things like a dinner party invite or an itinerary for a 4-day trip to Mexico City. To get technical, this all happens because large neural networks that work together like neurons to pass along information have been trained to analyze and recognize patterns within data. So let's try it. I, a person who entirely lacks musical talent, asked Bing Chat to help draft lyrics about this topic. It searched for information on generative AI and on pop songs and created this.
Generative AI can make anything, from text to images to sound. It learns from data and patterns, and then it makes something new and profound.
Okay, I'm back. Aside from catchy tunes, what can generative AI help you achieve? Imagine more with Microsoft AI.
So as it generates new content, those are things that we normally have our students do, which is why I'm sure a lot of you are worried about the cheating aspect. And now we're going to talk about how can you use the generative AI. All right, before we get into this, we do want to do a little bit of a disclaimer here, a caution. Never, ever, ever put sensitive information into AI, meaning don't put student names, don't put your name, don't put your email, your student ID numbers, don't put phone numbers, anything that's sensitive, do not give AI access to it. So you want to be super careful because this information is used to make this AI even better and better. And so privacy is almost something that you kind of give up as you use this program. If you are to a point where you're giving access to documents, please make sure that those documents do not have sensitive information. Okay, like again, that's name, students' names, your name, ID numbers, email addresses, and so on. Next, always fact check. So it's getting better and better, and it's becoming less and less, but artificial intelligence can be prone to hallucinations. It can make up stories about someone who never even existed. And so always make sure that you check the work that it does. And sometimes it can even get math problems wrong, so double check those. And finally, generative AI gives you a great starting point. It is not, you wouldn't just like release what it has as is. Definitely go in, give it a personal touch, revise it, and then you know your students. AI doesn't know your students, so make it so that it works for your kids. So don't use it as is. Add some tweaks in there.
All right, we're going to go ahead and give AI a try. Specifically today, I'm going to be operating in ChatGPT. You may have seen in our email earlier, the district, because of a behind the scenes firewall issue, ChatGPT got blocked on the district network over the weekend. It is something they are working to fix, but you may not be able to access it if you're on the district network. We sent you a couple of other options like platforms like Claude, but for this one, we're going to be looking at ChatGPT and watching how it can be used from a teacher's perspective. Here we go. Let's say I am an English teacher and I want to have my students write about the book 1984. I have put nothing else into this, and I could start off just by saying, create a writing prompt for, it'll automatically correct it, for the book 1984. You saw that that was near instantaneous. It came up with a prompt. Imagine a world where every aspect of your life is meticulously controlled, where the past is rewritten to fit the present. And then it goes on to ask the students to write a diary entry from a perspective from a character in the book. And that was almost instantaneous. Let's say I wanted to refine that. I want the students to actually just write about something from chapter 8 in the book. I could say, let's make the prompt about chapter 8. And there you go. It came up with a new prompt about chapter 8. It made it correlate to information that is only from that chapter, and it's asking them about it. Again, this was like instantaneous. You didn't really have to do much. Let's say this seems like it might be a little bit too high of a reading level. At least the prompt is written in too high of a level for my students. And I could ask it to please, you don't really have to say please, but please revise this prompt for 10th grade students. As you can see, it changed some of the language in there. You could even drop the lexile down if you knew of a specific lexile that you wanted it to be. You could drop it down to a different grade level. And it's going to continue to refine as you go. Let's say that I wanted to make sure that it was an argumentative prompt. That's the type of writing that you're working on in your class. Let's make the prompt argumentative. So now it took and it rewrote it, and it said to ask them to take a stance on something and to argue for that stance. Let's say I wanted to align it to standards for English. So align the prompt to 10th grade CCSS standards. So now it's not only doing that, it's also asking them to cite specific evidence as a part of what is required in the standards. And it kind of gives you that formulation as well. Let's say I have an English learner student and I wanted to make the prompt closer to their level. I could do that same type of thing. One of my students is an English learner. Can you rewrite it? I didn't even give it a level. Let's see what it does. You can see it reduced the language, the difficulty of the language for the whole thing. And you could also put in a specific lexile or level that you knew that the student was at. One of the things that Savina and I were messing around with the other day is you now have this writing prompt, and one of the big fears right now is, are students just going to use AI to write all of the answers to their questions? And so we were messing around, and we came up with, can you make this prompt something that an AI couldn't answer? And surprisingly, it came up with some pretty good ways, at least in the other ones that we've done, because it's different every single time, as to make it draw on their personal experience and make correlations with their own life. And yes, so share your personal thoughts on how this story might relate to the world today. Consider how are relevant in your modern society. Explain your perspective and your own opinions and your own experiences. So typically when we've done that, it asks you to more rely on personal experience in order to do it. It's not going to be perfect, but an AI will have a much harder time making up details about your specific life when it's trying to come up with an answer. So what we just did was we came up with a writing prompt through a iterative process. So we gave it a sample question, and then we slowly refined it down to be what we really wanted. And one of the goals today is to show you that you can do that in a much easier way if you set up all of the you set up all the ways that you want to ask the question from the start. And there's also the fact that the free version of some of these platforms will limit you in the number of questions that you can ask per hour or per day or per month. And so if you can write a very well-crafted prompt for the AI to start with, then you're going to go a lot further in that number of prompts you're going to be able to use during the month or day or hour, however they're going to break that down. And so let me go back to our slides. And as you can see on the slide, we have some ways to up your game with creating a better prompt. Most important is to specify the task. You need to give the AI what task you want. It could be writing, it could be creating a table, it could be generating something, creating a presentation, but you have to give it a specific task, and then it will work down from that level. And then you want to give the AI its role. You can tell the AI that you are a curriculum writer, or you are a 8th grade teacher, or whatever its role is. You can give it that role, and it will take that perspective as it creates whatever content you're asking it to help you create. Next, you want to make sure that you provide context. So like I said, you could give it your students' grade level, you could give it their reading level, you could talk about what you've already done in class, what you're going to do next. As much context as you can provide, it will generate it to be very specific to what you need. And then you can give it examples or exemplars of, so how we talked about using the CCSS, the different frameworks. You can provide an example of something that you want it to replicate, and it will do that as you do it. And then specify the format, that the output that you want it to give. So a lot of times it will be very verbose and it will write a lot more than you would actually want to use. And so you can give it a character limit, a word limit. You could tell it the type of tone that it should take, if it should be fun or if it should be serious. That's completely up to you. And then, as we did in that example, you can refine throughout the whole process and have it fix it and change it to be exactly how you want it. But again, the more prompts you use, that could end up causing you to run out of prompts if you're using a free version, or even some of the paid versions. Those are some of the things that you should do as you're creating your prompt. And the better prompts you can write, the more that the chat bots and generative AI will be able to help you in creating content for you to use as a teacher. All right, next we have some examples that you can look at in order to use as a teacher. And we'll read through some of these. I'm going to talk about one or two of them, and then you'll have some time afterwards to take a look at each of them individually. So there are some amazing things that we can do with this. Many of these we have tried, or all of them we've tried, but many of them we've used on a regular basis, from things like generating questions for an article or for an assignment. You can create extensions of activities for a text. So if you have your students reading something, you can tell the AI what you're reading and ask it to come up with extensions for it. You can create data tables from data that you have. You can make content fun, and this is one that we wanted to show you. It's amazing what it can do. You give it a concept or an idea, and it will turn it into whatever you tell it to. So you can have it rewrite as a rap or a poem. So this is an example that Savina came up with. So acts as a teacher trying to make a lesson more engaging. Ask me for the grade level, what the topic is, and how I would like to deliver. Rap, poem, story, etc. After I respond, generate the engagement strategy. Sure, I'd love to make your lesson more engaging. And then it asked you to. And then we said we wanted to have a 4th grade rap. Awesome choice is what ChatGPT said. Let's make a 4th grade lesson engaging with a rap. The grade level is 4th grade, topic multiplication, and then it comes up with its rap. And I'm not going to rap, but you can read through there. Maybe I will read it. All right, 4th graders, gather around. Don't be late. We're going to learn multiplication, and it's great. Grab your notebooks and pencils. Let's start the show. We'll rap about multiplication. So here we go. And it made that in seconds. And it can do the same thing with any of the content that you are trying to use in class. It makes it fun and engaging. And you can draw in some of those students that don't always want to pay attention to what you're actually doing. So let me get back to our slides.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate that rap so much. And I love that it's
reading. All right. So then we have, I'm sharing the correct tab, creating student samples. So you can you can show the students what a great example of what you're expecting would be. Number 6, create a Kahoot or a GimKit. I actually just used this last night. My son needed to study for his Amplify Science vocabulary, and I used the writing or the prompt that you'll see later on. And I, within a few minutes, created an entire Kahoot for my son to practice his vocabulary from his 8th grade science from Amplify. It's really, really cool. You can rewrite a text in a different style. You may have seen the email this week. We wrote our intro in the voice of Ted Lasso. You can do that from people in history, from people on TV shows. You can make anything fun and engaging. You can differentiate your writing prompts for different lexicons, kind of showed that a little bit earlier. You can make newsletters or emails. You can draft that email to that parent that is not fun to communicate with, and you can make it be in a pleasant style that you're not actually thinking in at that moment, just by telling the AI to do that for you. You can identify potentially difficult words in a text and have the AI find what those words are without you having to actually do it, and then list them with their definitions. You can debate the AI on a topic and be prepared to lose depending on how well you tell the AI to do, because it's pretty smart. And you could also have it impersonate characters from a book or from history. You can use it to translate text, write letters of recommendation. I've used that. I know several people who have used that. It makes life so much easier. You can have it create rubrics, replace. I have done this. I have used it to replace my Google search because it provides such amazing information. And there are extensions that you can or do not need to use that will allow it to search right when you type in your Google search. And then create effective explanations or analogies. Basically, it can do a lot. And there are so many uses for it. So we are now going to, all right, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next slide, which is how do you get ChatGPT? That is the main platform that I have been using, but there are also Bard and Claude, and I can't remember Microsoft's
Bing Copilot.
Bing Copilot. Not the best one, but I am a huge fan of ChatGPT, but it's the one I've used most, so that's the reason why. And I have the paid version. So today we were talking about ChatGPT and a couple of questions. Which account should you sign up with? Your personal or your .org? And I would suggest signing up with your personal account, because once you create an account, it is going to be tied to your cell phone. You must use a cell phone in order to create your account, which as we move into students being able to use this later in the year or whenever that gets approved officially, technically they can use it now, but they need to have parent permission if they are 13 to 18 years old, but it's not officially approved any way at all. It's just not blocked by the district, and currently they would be okay to use it if they had parent permission. But they have to have a cell phone. And so you will have to tie your cell phone to your account. And so that's why I suggest using your personal account and not your .org, but you can do whatever you would like.
Sean, I'm here at the district office and I'm having a hard time getting to ChatGPT. Can you show me how I could use maybe Claude instead or Google Bard?
Sure thing. Let me open up a new tab and share it. So Claude is spelled just like the name, and if you type it in just there in Google, it will be the top thing that shows up. At least it is on mine. It's https://claude.ai. And the same thing with Claude, you're going to need an email address, or you could do your single sign-on. I have a single sign-on with my personal Gmail, and that's how I get in there. Again, when I first did that, I had to give it my cell phone number, and then I believe it texted me a code, and then you're able to get in that way, but it's the same thing. You're gonna have to have a cell phone. But I would, again, just like with ChatGPT, I would use a personal account to do that. And then Claude works very, very similarly to ChatGPT, and so does Google's version, which Google, if you want to use theirs, your .org account will not work. You have to use a personal account, and that is just the way that they've set it up. They do not have it working with education accounts. And so Google's Bard, you have to use a personal Google account, and that also is free to use as well. And that's Bard, B-A-R-D.
Okay, so what we have for you is we're going to actually ask that you work together with a group of people. This hopefully the same people you were in the breakout room with earlier. And we're going to ask that you work on trying either ChatGPT out or Bard or Claude, either one. You're going to open up this cheat sheet that's linked here. You can also put that in the chat. Yep. Perfect. That's in the chat already. And so what you're going to do is click on that cheat sheet. So let me look at it. And pick out one thing or a couple things to try out. Each group member can either do one on their own, or you can do the same one and then just kind of compare the different things that you've done. Just like what kind of answers did you get? There's 17 of them and some have some A's and B's. And then at the very bottom, if you're like, I don't want to use one of the ones that you have created, but I want to go ahead and take that next step and build my own. And so some of the things that Sean laid out, make sure you give it a task, a role, context, examples, and an output, and then refine and repeat. If you want to do that on your own, there's the recipe right here. Okay. So you're just going to pick one. Let's say I really want to look at lesson differentiation. I'm going to copy what's in this box. And then I'm going to go to, okay, so here I am using Bard. I'm just going to paste the prompt there, hit enter. It's going to ask me a few questions, and I'm going to answer those questions and just keep interacting with the platform itself. So notice it gives me some information, and it asks me for more information. So that's what I'm going to ask that you do. You're going to work with your team. Sean, I was peeking in on some of the conversations. There were so many people using it for their own personal things. That was really cool. Like Gina, who we're all jealous of, is going on a fun trip. What should Gina pack? Sean,
yeah, we did 2 school things first, then we went on to the personal.
Right, because it can make your life easier personally and professionally.
Definitely. And I was talking to our group about the new features that are coming out, like with the Pro version, where you can take a picture of the inside of your refrigerator and it'll see what you have in your refrigerator and tell you what you can make out of what you have in there. But I personally used it for planning, like packing lists for different trips and when you should travel somewhere and all of those types of things. It's insane. It's really, really cool. All of the personal ways you can use it as well.
Gina, my reaction was the exact same when we were talking about it.
It's really cool. Was it Denise who did that trip? One of them did the trip. They want to, when they retire, go to every baseball park in the United States. So they told it, and it planned the whole trip. And then they found out they could add, where do you want to go? Where do you want to stay? You know, hotels or RV parks along the way. Because first it went day by day, but then it says, no, make this like, 3 months. And it took them across the entire states. That's cool.
That is cool. And we're just kind of scratching the surface with that sheet. I do recommend that generative AI sheet that you bookmark it. Sean and I are going to work on that and just keep making it better and better and better and add as we go. Hopefully we don't add like a million things on there. This is just like enough to get you started, enough to like get you to practice. How do you interact with AI? And yes, as Liz would say, you are always polite to AI because you never know. Brian said the alien overlord. It's what we're signing our lives away to.
And I'm selling everybody out, believe me.
When it takes over someday, you want to be on its good side.
Absolutely.
Yes, please. Thank you. All of that good stuff. Okay, so We are wrapping up our session right now as it's getting, like, we have a lot of things that we wanted to talk about, but we're going to share one more thing. And that is, many of you have reached out because you have been using different platforms other than ChatGPT that kind of take the technology of ChatGPT and it embeds it in things that can, like, make slides, make worksheets, make other things. So we have this little Padlet here. If you click on the link, and it's just click on that circle, you will see. Nice. That must be for the other one. I should move it. It's really good.
That was me, and I put it in the wrong one. That was my first one.
No worries. It's pretty cool though. What we're going to have you do is just kind of add in any platforms that you've used and just add a link. And, you know, sometimes that's different for elementary than it is for secondary. So if you have an elementary example, just click the plus sign and then add either the name of the source, or if you want to add the link, either one works. And then if you have a secondary, just use this one. If you want to bookmark this as well, we're going to continue to add on over and over again as we do all of the different PDs on artificial intelligence. Or just bookmark the presentation, then you've got all the links. So I'll give you some time to do that.
And as you guys are doing that, somebody put in their Canva. There's a good chance that that will be the first platform that students will be able to use on a regular basis. Canva hasn't necessarily opened up their magic right yet, but when they do, Canva's already approved in the district. And so it will be something that students will have access to. It is very much the same thing as generative AI, in that they'll be able to use it for writing and interacting just like you do with ChatGPT.
Great point, Sean. I was looking at Canva today and it said something like the magic is coming. And so I'm wondering, is the magic that they're talking about the magic, right?
That's a good assumption.
Yeah. 8 days. You can use Magic Write on your personal account, but if you're in an EDU account, it's a little different. Ooh, quiz is. So those are fun, actually. It has an AI option now. You can write different questions in different tones and different responses. It's pretty cool. Kahoot.
Yep, Kahoot also has a similar thing. It will come up with questions for you, even if you didn't do the ChatGPT template creator method that we talked about a little bit or showed in the cheat sheet.
Ooh, the Parlay Genie. You can use the Parlay Genie even if you don't have a Parlay account. I'm going to put that one in there. So we did want to mention that we do have some more professional developments coming up. There are links here to each one of the PDs if you would like to sign up in PowerSchool. If you're like, I really want to try this again, or I would just want to see what new things you guys come up with, check out the repeat session. Just put some pressure on us to kind of modify and make this session even better in that last link there. And so you have the link in the slide deck. We also do want to remind you, we are working on what can students use when it comes to AI. So currently, or at least the time that we made this slide, ChatGPT was not quite blocked by LUSD, and it isn't quite blocked yet. It's just has some technical issues happening with our filters. And so student use would need to, you need to make sure that it is improved in AES. So we have submitted the paperwork to get that done. We're just waiting to see if that's something that we can keep. We do want to mention that it is for students who are 13 years and older. Anyone under 13 should not be using ChatGTP. And then a lot of the other platforms are like, nope, don't even give me anyone under 18. So for example, Claude and Bard are both 18 and over. You will need to use a cell phone to set it up. So even those 13 and over students would need to do that. And again, they would need parent permission. So as soon as we get that set, you would need to have a parent sign a document stating that they can use it. It's not quite there yet, but this is the goal as we move forward towards our other professional developments. Sean and I added our technology coaching menu only because, you know, like all of this was really fast. You got a chance to dig in, but maybe you didn't get enough information on using this with your own material. And so anytime you want to book a 30-minute visit, or less, 30 minutes or less, just go ahead and click on one of our emails. We both have a little green button at the bottom that says book an appointment. If you want to talk for a longer period of time, just email us and we can do some consulting or some teaching with you. There's a lot going on in the chat. I hope everyone else has got it. I do want to say thank you for your time and for joining us today and being such great participants and trying everything out. We do have a survey linked. Is that also in the chat? We've got the rates. Let's see. Oh, now we're just all putting it in.
I guess I'll
Great.
stop.
Just a team. Okay. So anyways, if you could click on the form link and just fill out the survey and let us know if you felt that this is something you want more of, please reach out or put some information on here.
And Gina, that's correct. Google Bard is not allowed for EDU accounts at all. They have blocked that access, so you cannot do that with an EDU account.
But you can, on your district device, open up another another Chrome account and get onto Bard from there. And I just have a free extra Google account that I don't use anything else with other than dealing with Google Bard and then trying out other tech tools. So perfect.